Tonight we celebrate the story of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai on Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer cycle. We read the story about Rav Shimon Bar Yochai today on the 33rd daf of Shabbat, Lag BaShabbat, I guess you'd call it, and it's an incredible story. So the story starts off, there are three guys sitting together, and one of them says, you know, how incredible it is what the Romans have built. Look at all this incredible things they've built. They have built these incredible markets, these incredible bathhouses, these incredible bridges. And the second guy says nothing, doesn't say a word. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says, everything they created for themselves. They created marketplaces so they have a place where they could show off their prostitutes. They created bathhouses to pamper themselves. They created bridges to collect tolls, to collect taxes. Don't think they did anything that was like positive for the world. And this gets overheard and it gets passed around, and they decide to reward the guy who praised the Romans. The guy who said nothing, he gets put into exile. And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, they say he's going to be killed. So he goes for a little while and he hides out in the Beit Midrash, and his wife brings him food. But then even then it becomes known that he's around. And so he and his son, they flee and they go to a cave. And a miracle happens. There's a spring of water that they can drink from and a carob tree that kind of overhangs the cave. And they live there for 12 years. And so their clothes won't wear out. They take off their clothes and they bury themselves in sand up to their neck. And so then only unbury themselves for times of prayer and get dressed for times of prayer and pray, and then bury themselves in the sand and sit and learn Torah the entire time. And finally, at the end of 12 years, Eliyahu comes. Eliyahu comes and says, who's going to tell Rav Shimon that the Roman emperor who died, who wanted us to seek his life the Roman emperor who wanted to seek his life is dead, and therefore the decree against him is nullified and he can go free. So Rav Shimon hears this and he and his son come out, and they see all of these people, they're sowing, they're plowing, they're doing normal life stuff. And he's like, how could they be devoting their time to this temporary life thing? They're going to be devoted learning Torah, that which is eternal for the world to come. And fire beams come out of his eyes and they burn everything up that they see. And a divine voice comes out and says, I didn't let you out of your cave to destroy my world. Go back in. And so they go back in. And it says that the evil only burn in Gehenna for up to 12 months. And so at the end of 12 months, they're again told they can come out. It's an interesting parallel between the two, but it makes that parallel. At the end of 12 months, they're able to come out again. And they see a man running, an elderly man running with 2 sprigs in his hands. And 2 sprigs, I think, of myrtle. And they say to him, what are you doing? He's like, this is for the honor of Shabbat. It's about to be Shabbat. And it's like, well, why do you have 2? And it's like, one's for Shamor and one's for Zachor. There's 2 aspects of Shabbat that you shall guard Shabbat and you shall remember it. And so I wanted to honor these 2 different aspects. And they kind of see that. It's like, okay, look, it's not a perfect world, but it's a beautiful world, and people are so devoted to doing great things. And Rav Shimon's son is still a little bit too powerful. His eyes are still burning things up. But whatever his son destroys, Rav Shimon goes and heals and goes and fixes. And wow, as I'm telling this whole story, I can't help but reflect on all of the things that are going on in this world. There's all this discussion about Corona, this virus that is associated with the crowns, and that perhaps we're going to see at the end of this at Passover, the time of the crowns passing back from Esau to Yaakov, and this whole shift that is going on in the world that people are talking about. There's a shift in consciousness. And how many amazing things have been brought to the world, how many amazing creations we do have in the world. And we've got internet, and we've got airliners, and we've got all this incredible creation, how similar that is to sort of the story of this story, where you've got this guy who's praising, wow, look at all this incredible stuff the Western world has created, which is really what we compare it to. We say, look at the incredible things that the Romans did. We say the Romans are kind of the heirs of the West, and that Rome was Esau, and that is now passed on to all of the Western establishment. And they really do create amazing things. It really is absolutely incredible that I can go on and FaceTime with my family halfway around the world, that we can get on a plane, or at least we could last year, and fly over to see them once a year, sometimes twice a year, and be able to spend time. There's so many incredible inventions that came out there. But were they created for godly purposes? Were they created to elevate ourselves, to add spirituality, to add greatness to the world? One could argue yes, but one could certainly argue no. And I think a lot of what we're seeing right now with Corona is this shifting back to saying, okay, what are our priorities? What do we really want this world to be about? What is the greatness that we can express in ourselves and in each other? And what is the greatness that we can see? What is the way that we can devote ourselves, maybe with not so much material greatness that we've had? The material greatness we've been creating has literally been destroying our world, bringing global warming, totally depleting resources. Maybe we have to get away from that, as Rav Shimon did, and get back to some of the essentials, some of that great, blessed working on ourselves, working on the world, trying to bring in a greater level of spirituality, greater level of awareness into the world. And that happens at Passover, this time when we are now locked behind our doors in full quarantine, the time of redemption of thousands of years ago. Maybe that can happen again this Passover. We can have that shift. But it's important to realize this isn't a shift of burning up and destruction. Rav Shimon was so connected to that spiritual aspect that he saw material and he's destroy, destroy, destroy. It's no, that is not the way. That is not the way. God said, no, get back in your cave. Don't bring your destruction out here with you. There is a place for the material. There is a place for not everybody fully devoting themselves every single second to the most spiritual path that there is in front of them. There is going to have to be a balance in this new world that we're going to be creating post-corona, as we open up our doors and we go back out into the world, and hopefully back out into the world in a way of shift into a higher level of spirituality and consciousness and awareness. So well, bless everyone, an amazing Passover, an amazing Seder, and that we really should see a greater shift towards enlightenment, towards spirituality coming from this transition we're going through now.